Okay, let me now explain the implementation of our project. Here we have the classes we used in our project or implement in our project. Let me start with the server. The class server aim to provide the services that the client may request from the server, and it passes the tasks to the processors by calling the service class. Service class implements the functions for the server. However, the service class extends thread, which means it can serve multiple clients and servers or processors at the same time. However, in the service class we have six different object inputs and output streams, 3 for inputs and 3 for output, which represent each two of them represent the stream between the service, i.e. the server, and the different type of processors and the client. However, for each thread only one input stream will be active and one output stream. Now let's talk about the sorting processor. Sorting processor is a class to make the sorting for one dimension array. It has a socket server to be able to connect it to the server, and one output stream and one object input stream to pass the messages between it and the server. However, we can notice here that we have one remote port, which is 5576, and one local port 12347, which we used it in the surface in order to differ between the different clients connected to the server. Here, if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, that means the connected client is the matrix processor. But at 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, the connected client is the sorting processor, and the default is the client, the normal client that will request a service from the system. Let's back to the sorting processor. The sorting processor provide the services by calling the sorting worker. However, it is a simple service which implements the swapping between two locations in the array. However, we used it to be able to extend thread and implement the multi-threaded execution. Now let's move to the matrix processor. At the matrix processor, we are able to serve the client at the matrix operations. However, the matrix processor calls the matrix utility in order to perform its task. Again, here we use the same remote port we used with the client and with the sorting processor, which is 5576. However, at the local port we used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in order to differ between it and the sorting processor. Here there is a type error, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. It's not 5. Now we have the server, the input, and the output. Sorry, the output and the input, which are input stream, object input stream, and object output stream. Again, as we said, we used the matrix utilities to be able to serve the clients. In matrix utility, we can notice that we have a semaphore and the matrix transposer, and it is not multi-threaded class, the matrix utility. However, it holds many different type or functions or methods to serve the client. Again, we tried to document the project to be able to provide a good and well documented project. Now let's move to the matrix transposer. The matrix transposer extends thread and uses the semaphore from the matrix utility in order to make sure that the operations are synchronized. Here, the critical section for our project is this one, which reflects the row into a column or a column into a row, and both give us the transpose of the matrix. Now let's move to the packet, which is a class that represents the message transfer between the client, server, and the processor. It holds the main information. The first one is the type, which is an integer, represents the type of services that the client requests, and the operation number, which is an integer, represents the type of operation that the type of the operation of the service that the user requests, and two arrays of type double. One is 2D and the other is 1D. However, each packet has only one array, even 2D or 1D, and some operations to serve the tasks that packet is required. And we have a history item which represents the services that the registered clients requested, in addition to the original matrix or array and the result or proceed matrix and array. We need to use it in order to store the history items and send them to the client if he requests it. Now let's move to the client, which is a class that will be used in order to connect, to be able to connect to the server and to request services from the server. The most important point I have to mention here that we have here an input stream and output object stream, in addition to the socket to be connected, to be able to connect to the server. However, we don't use here any local port, only the remote port, which is 5576. The local port, we used the default switch at the surface for the client. Here 1 2 3 4 6 for the matrix processor, 1 2 3 4 7 for the sorting processor, and the default for the client. So at the client we don't need to use any local port, because we have a lot of codes At the client section, we added some inline comments to explain each part of this section, in order to be able to understand and to make it clear for reader. Now let's make a simple demo. Let me run the server. Now the server is up, waiting for connection. Let's run the sorting processor. Now the server gave us initializing sorting processor, which means the sorting processor is now connected. Let's make the connection from the matrix processor. Now initializing matrix processor, which means the matrix processor is connected. Let's connect with the client. Now the client is connected. Please enter your username. We want to sign up. Sign up. Okay. Let's enter Khalid with 123. Now send user info to server. User added, please log in. Let's log in with the name Khalid and 123. I made a mistake. Khalid. Yes, I made. Okay, as we noticed here, the message for the client. Let me enlarge this message. Now we can guest for anonymous access or sign up to create a new account. Let's use the sign up. Name Khalid and password 123. User added, please log in. Logged as Khalid. If we want to list the history, we cannot. No history item found. Please choose task. Let's do an operation for matrix operation and matrix transpose of size 2. Let's insert random number. Here we can see that sending proceed matrix task to the client at the server. Let's go back to the client. We can notice that this is the original and this is the transposed matrix. Now let's insert with another user with guest account. The server wrote that guest client logged in. Let's come here and notice that there is no sort because this type of clients guest shouldn't have any history items. Let's make matrix operation 1 with inverse of size 3 and 3, and let's insert an arbitrary numbers. حلاوة يا حلاوة.